face and voice of Africa. The story of resurgent and burgeoning Africa is here, only on the Pulse of Africa channel. Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa.
Hello everyone, I'm Gametisa Mandida with Pulse of Africa News, bringing you the latest stories and updates from across the continent. The G20 Think 20 has issued its 2025 communique demanding sweeping global reforms from G20 leaders. Highlighting the themes of solidarity, equality and sustainability, the report signals a critical focus for the first G20 cycle hosted in Africa. The T20 warns that the current multilateral system is failing to combat rising inequality and escalating climate threats. The T20 asserts that the international system is failing to address acute debt vulnerabilities and severe climate shocks. It concludes that old governance structures, including global trade rules and the financial architecture, are no longer fit for purpose. The report argues that without urgent reforms to the IMF, WTO and development banks, developing nations will remain trapped in instability. The communique outlines specific areas for decisive overhaul. It calls for decisive WTO reform, emphasizing the restoration of the dispute settlement system. New trade rules must specifically support developing nations to industrialize and diversify. The T20 highlights the crisis of digital inequality, urging investment in digital public infrastructure and inclusive access to technologies like AI. Major shifts in global financing are also demanded, including overhauling the IMF quota system, expanding concessional funding, and implementing fairer tax rules through a UN-led process. On climate action, the focus is on equitable energy transitions. The T20 demands that adaptation finance be scaled up, particularly for vulnerable nations. Ultimately, the T20 insists G20 leaders adopt a cooperative multilateral approach rooted in justice and shared responsibility. It states that achieving the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals requires the world to reject fragmented efforts. Africa's host year makes 2025 a defining moment to reshape global systems for universal dignity. Tanzania is set to benefit from the new Loss and Damage Fund, expecting up to $20 million for climate change impact projects. This was announced by Dr. Richard Muyungi, Presidential Advisor on Environment and Chairperson of the African Group of Negotiators, AGN, during the 30th UN Climate Change Conference COP30 in Belém, Brazil. Globally, $250 million has been allocated for these projects in the coming year, with Tanzania listed as priority beneficiary. Dr. Muyungi stressed that the anticipated $20 million is a grant, not a loan, enabling Tanzania to secure potentially two major beneficial projects. He requested the Vice President's office to appoint a dedicated focal person for the new fund. Further boosting the country's climate role, Tanzania has been selected to host the Santiago Network Center in 2025, which will coordinate technical assistance for countries facing climate-induced loss and damage. Dr. Muyungi urged the large Tanzanian delegation to stand united and actively network. He emphasized building connections to tap into opportunities available from international banks, NGOs and governments. The goal is to maximize tangible gains from the conference, leveraging the strength of Tanzania's negotiation team. Participants were reminded of their duty to promote Tanzania's Development Vision 2025, showcasing national achievements to attract sustainable development opportunities. Professor Peter Musofe, Deputy Permanent Secretary for Environment, affirmed the Vice President's office commitment to pursuing and utilizing every opportunity. He encouraged stakeholders to consult experts, particularly involving the office in matters related to carbon trading. Amina Kamiz Shaban, Deputy Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Finance, called for close collaboration among all stakeholders who identify opportunities. She stressed that the ministry is ready to meet with the stakeholders whose projects are well prepared and approved. This unified effort aims to ensure the country continues to benefit from these global efforts and advance national development. Ethiopian Ministry of Tourism announced that the repatriation of 12 significant artifacts from abroad will substantially strengthen Ethiopia's heritage, research capabilities and tourism sector. The collection, which includes shields, crowns and artifacts, was privately held overseas and returned to Ethiopia under the facilitation of the German embassy in Addis Ababa. The items were officially handed over to the Institute of Ethiopian Studies IES at Addis Ababa University during a ceremony at the historic Ras Mekonnen Hall. The collection was originally amassed by Fitzways, Professor Way's grandfather, who served as the German envoy to Ethiopia in the 1920s. Tourism Minister Salamit Kassa noted the pieces offer a unique insight into Ethiopian art and craftsmanship of the 1920s, significantly enriching the IES Museum and academic resources. The repatriated items hold high cultural significance, including gifts from Regent Tafari Mekonnen, 2 ceremonial crowns and several paintings. Minister Salamit emphasized that the newly returned collection will be an important attraction, complementing other items previously repatriated, such as those removed during the 1868 British expedition to Magdala. The return underscores the growing global commitment to restoring cultural heritage.
These artifacts offer a unique glimpse into Ethiopian arts and the craftsmanship of the 1920s. They will enrich the remarkable collection of the institutes and the museum and serve as a valuable material for comprehensive research. These restituted items will also become an important attraction for tourists as well.
German Charger DFS Ferdinand von Wey highlighted that the donation by the Wyss family was the result of close cooperation with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Society of Friends of the IAS since 2016.
Now, 100 years later, these artifacts still stand as a symbol, and you mentioned it as Honourable Minister, as a symbol of the long-standing and friendly relationship between Germany and Ethiopia. Now, this crown and the other souvenirs brought as a donation from Europe, and you mentioned it's not only Germany now, it's Sweden, where you're coming from, Professor Weiss. It is of historic importance, as I understood it, and you mentioned it, of historic importance, of cultural importance for Ethiopia.
Wey noted the significance of the event as Germany and Ethiopia celebrate 120 years of diplomatic relations. The embassy will further commemorate the event with a dedicated exhibit at the Goethe Institute featuring 51 rare photographs taken by Envoy Ways.
They shaped history. They inspired generations. They are the notables. Join us as we honor Africa's greatest minds and trailblazers, the notables, celebrating Africa's icons.
The Premier arrived last night at Kenneth Kaunda International Airport and was received by Vice President Mutale Nalumango. The Chinese Premier declared Beijing's intention to expand political, economic and diplomatic cooperation with Lusaka as the two countries mark more than half a century of bilateral ties. Speaking at the Presidential Pavilion of Kenneth Kaunda International Airport, Mr. Lee said he was visiting at the invitation of President Hakainde Hichilema and delivered warm greetings and best wishes from the Chinese government and people. Mr. Lee praised Zambia's recent economic gains under President Hichilema's administration, saying the country had pressed ahead with reform and development, maintained faster economic growth and made remarkable achievements. He said China was gratified by the progress and expressed confidence that Zambia would achieve even greater accomplishments on the road to development and revitalization. Russia and Togo will open embassies on each other's soil next year, the two countries' leaders said on Wednesday. Relations between Togo and Russia have grown closer recently, especially after the two nations signed a military cooperation agreement this year. This year, we have already marked 65 years of diplomatic relations. Strangely enough, throughout that time, we have not opened embassies, Russian President Vladimir Putin told Togolese leader Faure Gnassingbé, who was visiting Moscow. However, we have finally agreed on this next year. We'll open embassies in both countries, Putin added. Gnassingbé thanked the Kremlin chief for maintaining scholarships for Togolese students and said, "We hope that with the opening of the embassies, we'll do better in this field," referring to education. Now to business news. Iran is rapidly accelerating its engagement with African markets, moving beyond modest commercial outreach to deliberate strategy for rebuilding economic and political partnerships. This push is driven by Iran's evolving foreign policy and Africa's strategic value in the shifting global economy. A recent sharp increase in Iranian exports to Africa, reaching $675 million in the first half of the current Iranian calendar year, signals a significant shift in ambition and opportunity for both regions, and they seek alternatives to traditional economic corridors. African nations are actively working to break historical dependence on former colonial powers and traditional power blocs. Iran offers an external partner capable of supplying essential industrial inputs, petrochemical products, pharmaceuticals, and agricultural technologies at competitive prices, aiding Africa's efforts to build higher-value domestic supply chains. The growing Iran-Africa relationship is part of a larger realignment across the global south, mirroring the broader BRICS Plus trend. As emerging economies enhance production and expand trade routes among themselves, the geography of global commerce is shifting. African countries require assurances regarding logistical reliability, fair pricing, and financing that avoids new debt traps. Ethiopian Airlines, Africa's largest carrier, has chosen Collins Aerospace and RTX Business to provide premier lie-flat business class seating solutions for multiple fleets. The agreement was signed at the Dubai Air Show and aims to significantly enhance the in-flight comfort and luxury experience for passengers. This move aligns with Ethiopia's commitment to world-class service and its rapidly expanding global brand presence, ensuring a consistent and seamless passenger experience across its modern fleet. The contract includes outfitting 11 new Airbus A350-900 aircraft with Collins advanced elevation seats. The reverse herringbone elevation seat offers travelers a privacy door, intuitive storage, and exceptional living space for enhanced comfort while working, relaxing, or dining. This agreement strengthens a partnership that already includes providing the same elevation seats for Ethiopia's recently announced Boeing 777-9 order, ensuring a consistent and luxurious product across the airline's next-generation wide-body jets. Cynthia Muklevich, vice president at Collins Aerospace, stated that the premier solutions were distinctly tailored to amplify Ethiopia's expanding brands. Mr. Reta Malaku, Ethiopian Airlines Group Chief Operating Officer, expressed excitement over the collaboration, noting the investment is designed to take the airline's customer comfort and overall flight experience to the next level. Finally, the Confederation of African Football (CAF) honored Tanzanian President Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan. The award recognizes her significant contribution to sports development, especially football. The ceremony took place in Rabat, Morocco. Gerson Misigwa, Permanent Secretary and Government Spokesperson, received the award. He accepted it on the President's behalf. CAF appreciated President Samia's efforts in infrastructure and hosting. Her projects include building major stadiums. She successfully hosted the CHAN tournament. She is also leading preparations for the AFCON 2027 bid. This effort boosts Tanzania's profile in African football. Her leadership led to major football achievements. The Tanzania Premier League has improved greatly. It now ranks 5th in Africa. She also oversaw development in women's football. Efforts to promote youth football have expanded nationwide. This ensures a steady talent pipeline. A high-level Tanzanian delegation attended the event. Attendees included Wallace Karia, TFF President and a CAF Executive Committee member. Also present was Engineer Hersey, said Chairman of African Clubs. Their presence highlighted the national importance of this CAF recognition. They celebrated the foundational role of President Samia. Next, let's take a look at the latest weather forecast. Thank you for watching Pulse of Africa News. Stay with us for more essential stories from throughout the continent.